Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Better, faster, and easier. It's AJ Poyden, and again, I'm with another long-term friend of mine. Long time, as if term
Term
has an
time.
end. Long-time friend, Doug Ottersberg. Now, Doug and I met through seminars, and what I really love about him, again, he is really what I think is an epitome of a person and a teacher that walks his talk. And he doesn't just take all the success and the strategies that he's done to make him successful in business. He's also really applied it into his life. Your family's just awesome, Doug.
Thanks, AJ.
And I tell you often just how much of an admirer I am of how great your kids are and how well you guys get along and those sort of things. But anyways, just wanted to welcome you to the show, Doug, and for those who are new to the show, it's called Better, Faster, and Easier. So we're just going to kind of like have coffee at the Starbucks, ponder life together, and about ways to make life better, faster, or easier. Is that a green bottle or a green drink?
It's a green drink.
Okay, what's in it? What kind of green drink is it?
This is actually a friend of mine, Fred Shady, and it's vibrational greens.
Ah,
And it's pretty much all of the greens you could want powdered up and, drink 3 liters of this a day.
uh-huh.
I've had to tell people that no, I don't have a prostate problem, but I'm getting really healthy. And, it's probably TMI, but when I was talking with the maker of
It's
this,
often
he's like,
TMI when we talk.
yeah, anybody that asks you a question, it's like well, we're live, so I'll just let that go.
I am drinking monkey picked oolong tea.
Nice.
Monkey picked it. When I was in China, I drank tea all the time when I was there, and I'll tell you, I felt healthier. I felt better. And the monkey picked is, one of those, really good for you teas, and it has a legend that the monks would train the monkeys to climb up the tree to pick only the best tea leaves for the emperor, and so that's why it's called
Awesome.
monkey pick, and it's called oolong. And I got my Tivana tea maker. Check this out. I put there, and it kind of pours right into my cup.
Oh, that's awesome. That looks great.
Yeah, kind of cool. so, so that's what today's show is about tea.
Tea and green drinks.
Yeah. So hey, better, faster, easier type of concept. So what do you think? What do you see kind of going out there in the world? Where people are either not getting as much or getting results, and kind of looking for tips, life tips that from what you notice in the world.
Well, one of the things I am noticing in the world, at home,
Hmm.
in our business, as well as with a lot of my clients and just people that I meet and talk to, is of all the changes that have been going on over the last few years. People having to reinvent themselves, people having to find new ways of doing things that, hey, this used to work before, now it's not working. I still know what my outcome is, but I gotta figure out something new. I gotta reinvent myself.
Hmm.
And so, what I've found
Hmm.
lately, these last few months particularly, have been a lot of people that just need some cheering,
Yeah.
not the rah rah, foofy stuff, but just reminder, that they are okay, they are
Uh-huh.
great people, and this too shall pass.
I've been having the same conversation a lot with that kind of reinvention thing.
Yeah,
And here's the thing about that reinvention. If you're in a place to, you could reinvent into something else that just doesn't work for you, right? And so when we're talking about kind of that being authentic as you reinvent yourself, so to say,
yeah,
they actually do go hand in hand on it. I can imagine how they may not. And yet that means you're kind of jumping into something new. And so that, no matter, and it's going to be experimenting a little bit with that reinvention. And so what you just said, that encouragement, that foundation, just that some cheer, just some happiness in their life to, as they do what they need to do is a very important piece. It's kind of like, an anchor while you're going out doing things. I mean, because if you keep on reinventing, but you have no basis of what's making you happy, you might not invent the right thing.
Well, and that's exactly it. And the word you just used, anchor, it's huge.
Hmm.
There's a question
Spiritual
in
anchor
the coaching
yeah.
intake questionnaire
Hmm.
where we ask, hey, tell me a time when you were operating in a peak performance state.
Mm.
Tell me what was going on. Tell me who you were with. What were you doing? And my body's already responding to being in a peak performance state. I'm like, yeah, I can feel it. And it's, for me, it's so cool. When you see somebody that, when you're working with somebody, or even just having a conversation with a friend, not doing any coaching or counseling per se, and just by the words you used, you can help guide them back to a time when things were awesome.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of like that little kid feeling, that it's Christmas morning and everything's new and exciting and mysterious. And it's like, we really have the ability to guide ourselves and other people to remember that state.
Mm-hmm.
And then using that whole anchoring. So I've been doing a lot of that with myself and with other people, just showing them how to access how they want to be.
Yeah.
And coupling that with this whole idea of if the only thing that will make you happy is something you don't have, well, then you're going to be miserable. And so, until you can learn to and just be happy with what you have while you have it,
Mm-hmm.
right? This constant pursuit of stuff can be a real drag at times.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also another theme that I've been seeing and been going on. A lot of people realizing that they just been chasing stuff, and even though they got the stuff, they weren't as happy as they thought they would be. And then a lot of people have lost their stuff, and you know what? Weirdly, they're finding that they're actually kind of happy with less stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, as much as we want people to be happy and to have everything that they want.
yeah,
Part of it is to again be happy with just with what you have. The rich get richer. In other words, when you're happy with what you have, you get more of what you want. I've been having a lot, again, a lot of conversations around that concept again too, just about happy with what you have. I've seen a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people who, quite frankly, they've told me, you know what? I don't think I've ever been more poor than I am right now. But at the same time, I've never been as happy as I am right now. And now that was a conversation actually I've been having with a couple people like a couple years ago. And you know what? Things are turning around for them.
yeah, they are.
Because they needed to find that happiness first. The poor part, I bet you anything. Once they hit the bottom, they were like, "This sucks."
It does.
It does. But then then pretty soon it's like, okay, well, I'm either going, even though this is my situation, it's not who I am. I got to do something about it. Well, let's start off by being happy. Then I get that statement, I'm more poor than I've ever been, but I'm happy.
Sure.
And then once they got that happiness, they start attracting more into their life. But, I sometimes ask this question of my, clients. When you do a good job, how can you reward yourself without spending money? And that is a question that, like brain fries a lot of people. How do I enjoy life without spending money? And it's like, well, I usually go out and buy something or go out on vacation, but I do this. It's like, okay, but how about without spending? It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, in fact, I just gave that as an assignment yesterday to somebody. I challenged them to come up with 3 ways that are low or no cost to go have fun.
Yeah.
And say, think about it. Our parents and certainly our grandparents, from the stories I've heard, they certainly didn't go out and buy stuff every time they wanted to have a good time. Maybe they went to a movie once in a great while. Going out to eat was almost unheard of. Certainly going out and retail therapy was not even a concept that had been invented for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned my family. I mean, we are the biggest bunch of goofballs, and this to be a fact. And I was relating the story that we had a house full of teenagers here, and quite often do. And you know what? We were sitting there around the big dining room table playing. There's this board game called Tripoli.
Uh-huh.
It's a card game, and I mean these teenagers were just laughing and joking and having fun, and even with the parents, the old people in the room, right?
Yeah.
And it was just a blast. And I think these days more of that needs to take place, and it just
Kind of like
it does a lot
old
of good
school
things.
fun, right? Old school fun is still fun.
There you go, old school's fun.
Boy, that there's a lot of value in that. It's like people are talking about video games and kind of disconnect type of stuff, and it's because, well, if we don't do video games, then what will we do? They don't have any other idea. It's the only choice they have to have fun, a video game. How else do we connect? And
Exactly.
yeah, and so they need to reteach and like remember. No, there's thousands of ways to connect, not just that way. So we were talking about anchoring, happiness,
Yeah.
and just kind of remembering those because there will be those down times and or those challenging times or those times where people second guess themselves, and I think it's important for them to have a time that they can remember who they are and change that around.
1 second, the Chihuahua's announcing a visitor, and I need to shut the door. 1 second. Sorry.
The Chihuahua doorbell, huh?
Okay, Anna, I'm getting interviewed and recorded, so maybe.
Hey everybody, so I'll either edit this part out or I'll keep talking to you right now.
There's benefits of working at home, and then there's benefits of working at home.
Very cool. So I was talking about anchoring certain things.
Yeah.
I would think it's probably good to anchor happiness. Happiest time. What else would be useful? Anchoring or remembering a time.
Anchor,
What?
confidence.
Confidence. And
So
when we say
confidence
anchor,
is a really good one.
so those listening, when we say anchor, for now on a non-hypnosis level, it's just remembering a time that can bring back a feeling of happiness, confidence.
Right.
I also one that says follow through or like belief in oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Those sort of things. What's a personal story anchor that gets you in a productive state or something like that for you?
A personal anchor for me is that there was just a time when I was really grateful for my life, and it was when our kids were young, and we were still living in not in the house we're at right now, but there was a time when Anna and I were in bed, and our two older kids came in and jumped in. And then our big German Shepherd came and jumped on the bed. And so like the whole family was just right there,
And what feeling
and it
does
just
that
hit me. It's like, this is awesome.
What feeling does that bring back or anchor you to?
Yeah, happiness and gratitude.
Awesome.
And so all I have to do is remember that particular moment, and I can go right back to feeling really happy and just satisfied, and thankful, gratification, gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm here, that I get to experience this moment.
I certainly hope the people listening are taking this. What we do well is that we take lessons and then we actually apply it in our lives. And so when we're having a conversation, we're actually changing our own personal lives and lives of others. So I certainly, hope the people listening are saying, what are my stories? What are my anchors?
Well, and those stories are the secret. So, for example, there's a little addition to that, or tip, if you will. I just call it's called step into it.
Uh-huh.
And so, while you're standing and you're wanting to go do a task. So, like for example, here's a great way to use this. Somebody you need to pick up the phone. And yet there's a part of you that is repelled from picking up the phone. It's like, oh my gosh, they're going to reject me, or I don't know what I'm going to say, or any of those kind of things. And so what would you need, what resource would you need in order to be able to pick up that phone? Well, most people would say, well, I need to remember a time or just be confident. And those are the magic words. Remember a time
Mm-hmm.
when you felt really confident. close your eyes and see what you saw, hear what you heard, and really feel the feeling of being totally confident. And it's just amazing. Even the people that protest they can't, the more you just let them be with that, pretty soon you'll start to see that smile come on their face, and just that physical change that happens. And the next thing I ask is, once they're there, I said, "So are you there? Do you have that specific time?" And they're like, "Yeah, this is cool. I can really feel it." And then I'll ask them, "So what color goes along with that?" And most people right away, I've never had anybody say, "I can't." And it's interesting that a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings have the similar colors from people.
That's interesting.
And so, for example, blue and green are popular colors for confidence. And so then what I do is, when they're really, really feeling that, an anchor that we normally do is, squeezing the fist. What I'll do is I'll have them see that color on the floor in front of them, and then step into it and open their mouth and breathe.
So once you identify the color, the application afterwards after it's been identified is to imagine that color, or to imagine that color surrounded whatever scenario you need it to. Okay.
You put the color there, and then the second thing, the first thing is the color then helps become that trigger. You see the color, you step into it, open your mouth and breathe, the feeling comes back. Now you're feeling confident. You see the phone, it's green. You could also link, green is money. I got to pick up the phone and it's money, and boom, and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we can use that color to help us, while we're doing helping us to recall the way we want to be.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. Let's see, what story anchors me? Okay. Well, of course, I have to get like my doozy pictures there. That comes to mind. When I was in high school, I was a magician, and we had to do 2 magic shows, or we had to do 2 concerts in front of the whole school, and with half the school, then the other half. And the first half, I screwed up in my magic show, and oh my gosh, if you play trumpet and you play the wrong note, that's one thing. But if you're a magician and you open a trap door incorrectly, that's really bad.
Yeah.
And so I ran out of there just like horrified, like my whole world been crushed. And quite frankly, I wanted to just end everything at that time. And so just as I was about to leave campus to just like end things, so to say, I look at my watch and go, "Oh my gosh, it's time for the second show. Let's go do that first." So I go do the second show. It goes off fine, and then I leave campus, and my friend takes my car keys, and I end up walking like 3 miles. I don't know. It was like a 50-minute walk home because I didn't have my car keys, which was a good thing, but it made me think a lot.
Right.
So, anyways, I ended up not going back to school for a week, just because I was so devastated. And my director called me and he said, "AJ, I want you to know, I understand why you haven't been at school. And I want you to know also that when it came time to the second show, I never questioned whether or not you were going to be there, because you're an entertainer, and that's what entertainers do."
Right.
And so all of a sudden, it really hits me. It's like when life is too much, when all the world has ended in my mind, I'm still an entertainer, and the show goes on. And I can't not follow through. It's just part of who I am. And so that's just like an anchor for me to know that, look, no matter how bad things get, I know that there's just no way I can stop. I'm going to push through. I'm going to push through and make things happen. So that's one of my anchor stories. Yeah. So, that's it. It's just one of my anchor stories.
Yeah, and so I guess just from what we've been talking about, you've probably heard that we always have inside of us whatever we need, to answer our own questions.
So we started off talking about reinvention, and one of the things a good thing to have during that reinvention phase is a good anchor.
Right.
Something that you can call upon to give you emotional and physical strength, even to handle reinvention, so to say. what other things can we come up with, or have you experienced as good tips for someone reinventing themselves?
Well, along the same theme, um, removing anchors can also be helpful as well. So, for example, you can see behind me, I have some anchors.
Yeah.
And there's one up here, whatever, up here. The family.
Uh-huh.
There's a little deal up here. It says facta non verba, which means actions, not words. And
Uh-huh.
so, that's a good anchor. The picture of my wife and I on our wedding day, that's a great anchor.
Uh-huh.
So I surround myself with anchors that help me move forward. Well, at the same time, um, there's been anchors in this area where I do my work where, oh, you know what? I like, for example, I bought that book or that home study course, and I've been meaning to do it, and I really want to do it, but I keep looking at it and I don't do it. And then I start feeling guilty because I know how much I invested in it and I know I haven't done it. And so I need to make a decision. I'm either going to do it or I'm going to get rid of it. And so quite often I'll go through and I'll clear out my space and
Mm-hmm.
get rid of not only anchors like that, that also like bright shiny object type stuff, so that I can keep myself focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another tip along those lines is when somebody's reinventing themselves, quite often we'll go through and just declutter their living space and remove all kinds of old anchors, that pictures of you and someone you're no longer with, or whatever it is, those kinds of things, negative anchors,
Mm-hmm.
to remove that out of the space as well. So
Boy, I just threw away like an entire garage full of stuff, just
yeah,
because I realized I just don't need it. In fact, one of the things that I did that kind of surprised me that I did it, but I feel good about it, is, quite frankly, I got rid of all my books and home study programs. I know they were, probably 50,000 or more dollars worth of books and stuff, but the reality is, I asked myself, am I ever going to read this again? The answer is no. I'm not going to read it again. Some of
yeah,
those were not open, like you said, and I'm not going to read those either. They almost become an anchor of procrastination. You look at it and you see
yeah,
some more stuff that you didn't do.
right.
It's not like, oh, there's some stuff of, wasn't a good feeling necessarily. And, it was just cluttering space. So I got rid of a lot of books and a lot of stuff. Um, you know, Getting rid of those anchors. So,
Yeah, and I think as far as another tip, that if I were to think about it, just where I'm at personally right now, I'm you and I are a lot alike in ways. We have
mhm.
families and things, and somebody told me when my kids were young that, Doug, your job as a parent is to create awesome memories for your kids.
Oh yeah,
And I'm like, wow, that sounds awesome, because the key to me, it's if it's fun, I'm in, right?
yeah.
And so I just realized, that whole thing about being happy with what you've got while you've got it. Well, what I've got right now are three kids.
Hmm.
And it dawned on me that my oldest one is 17, and I left my parents' home, when I was 18.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
You know, and so, gosh, just a couple of years ago, that dawned on me, and it's like I might only have a couple more years with a couple of my kids, and I'm going to cherish every single moment that I do. And so, my favorite time of day is what we call Daddy Taxi. I mean, it's scheduled, it's on the calendar, and
Daddy
I'm Daddy
taxi?
Taxi.
Taxi?
Taxi, as in TAX, taxi. So
So what do
I'm
you do
taking
during?
my kid. I'm the taxi that takes my kids to school,
Uh-huh.
picks them up, and drops them off at Boy Scouts, at dancing, at mariachi practice, whatever.
I
Um,
have my kids are 4 years old, so when we play Daddy Bus, it's different than Daddy Taxi. Daddy Bus isn't me driving them around. That means they're on my back and I'm walking them around, and I play a bus. I'm actually on my hands and knees. So,
got it.
so it's like,
So it kind of goes along with that. And, you and I have both been in personal development. Now, you a lot longer than I, and yet, personal development yourself personally. And I realized, it's all just part of that cycle of nature. There are times when you're doing this, there are times when we're doing that. And, right now, this is the time that I'm raising kids. And yeah, during that time, we got to put bread on the table and, keep the rain off of us and, the wind out and all that kind of stuff. So roof over the head, got to work. And yet, at the end of the day, it really comes down to, for me and for Anna, creating that lifestyle that allows us to at least enjoy some things more than others.
If you don't have balance now, you're not going to have balance later.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems, I understand from like a financial point of view, people tend to think that it's like, well, later on we can do more things together, more later on, and it just, if you can't, you got to work it in today. I've said that spending time with your kids or doing whatever makes you happy, is not the reward for a job well done. It's the requirement for a job well done.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So we got to start to wrap up here. What's something you are really excited about that's going on for you in the next 90 days?
Well, a couple of things. First thing, it just happened, and I'm not at liberty to discuss what I'm really excited about. So perhaps after that, we'll see how that goes, and we can talk about that.
So people need to follow you to find out what it is.
What's that?
People need to follow you to find out what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing another thing that I'm really excited about is our two oldest kids, Stuart and Gabriella. They go to a performing arts school. They're singers, dancers, and
amazing singers and dancers.
They're entertainers. That's right. That's what they do. And they are involved with. There's a couple that lives here in Santa Fe, Roy and Eileen Rogeson. They have had for years a camp, which is creative arts and performance, out on the East Coast. They retired here to Santa Fe, and they're involved in doing youth activities and youth things. So they just started they've got a new studio, and I'm helping. I'm actually bringing down here in another hour or so my sound system to leave there, and then they've asked us to help with the board, be on the board of directors for that, and as well, I now have space where I can start doing weekly or bi-weekly, like once a night, just like everything you wanted to know about hypnosis, but we're afraid to ask, or
that's awesome.
Just something like that. Where I just have like instead of doing like what we would consider to be like a 90-minute pitch or presentation, I'm just going to do 90 minutes of here's some information, here's the topic tonight. Come on down if you're interested, and bring your questions. Maybe do a demo or two with someone, and if they're interested, they can find out more.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about doing that.
That's really cool. That's great. All right.
And one other thing I'm really excited about, AJ, is I just picked up yesterday a 1955 Chevy pickup that I have been working on for over 18 years.
Just restoring it.
So yeah, I mean, there's still bugs that need to be worked out, but it was so cool to finally be able to ride in that truck after having watched it sit in someone else's garage all these years.
That's really cool. So hey, Doug does hypnosis. He does training. He teaches real estate programs, all those sort of things. If someone, those who really kind of love your energy, which I know many of them always do, how could they follow you and find out the things that you do?
Sure, a couple of things. I'm on Facebook, Doug Ottersberg. I'm also at DougOttersberg.com.
Mm-hmm. I'll put links down below.
DougOttersberg.com. Mm-hmm. And SuccessMindsetMastery.com. So 3 different ways you can get a hold of me. SuccessMindsetMastery.com.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Hey, Doug, thank you for being here. Everybody, go out there and do us a favor and win. All right. So we'll talk to
See
everybody
ya.
next
Thanks,
time.
AJ.
All right. Bye, Doug.